All right, now let's take you to one of our leading stories this afternoon. And of course, that is the Senzo Meyiwa trial. Of course, our senior reporter Chriselda Lewis has been monitoring developments in court today. Chriselda, very good afternoon to you. Of course, interesting yet very crucial testimony there in court today by Senzo Meyiwa's closest friend, Tumelo Madlala. Let's talk about what transpired just towards the end of that case before it was postponed, with Tumelo Madlala, of course, saying that, he is in a room with a person who is accused in the murder. Unpack all of these developments for us.
All right, Nati, indeed, a bombshell being dropped there by Tumelo Madlala, who is Senzo Meyiwa's close friend. He basically says that one of the suspects that are inside the room or are currently standing trial for the murder of Senzo Meyiwa was one of the intruders on the day that Senzo Meyiwa was killed. So what led to this was that Advocate George Bolo, who is the state prosecutor, had been asking him about how many times he had participated in an identity parade or had participated in an identikit relating to what he saw on the day that Senzo Meyiwa was killed. You would recall, he told this court that the first intruder had walked in carrying a gun, he had dreadlocks and was wearing a cap, and he had seen the second intruder after he managed to get up from the couch and tried to flee through the kitchen door, and that's where he saw that Senzo Meyiwa was pinning this second intruder against the wall. So Tumelo Madlala dropping that bombshell, basically saying that yesterday, you would recall, Unati, when he asked for a break inside this court, he seemed visibly perturbed and unsettled, looking towards a particular direction inside the court. When he was asked whether he was able to identify any of the men inside this court as any of the men basically who were inside that house in Vosloorus where Senzo Meyiwa was killed, essentially he said that is why he asked for the break yesterday. He would have been able to answer that question yesterday if he had been asked. Let's take a listen.
The state asked you whether are you in the position to identify any of the suspects before court?
Kulaba phambi kwenkantolo ke uyakwazi ke noma yakhona ke ukuthi ke uchaze ukhombe noma identify ke kulaba abaphambi kwenkantolo manje.
If bengimele ngichaze kwayizolo bengizochaza nayizolo bengifuna ukuchaza nayizolo.
Even if I was allowed to mention it yesterday or to say it yesterday, I was even prepared yesterday to say it.
Yes, say.
It is why ngicelile break ngaphumela ngaphandle.
Hence I requested, can I just finish? Hence I requested that break yesterday, my lord, because what annoyed me yesterday was to be in the same room as that person.
An objection there, Unati, being raised by the defense in this matter. Both Titi Tobane, who is representing accused number 1 to 4, and the legal representative for accused number 5, they're basically accusing the state of ambushing them and are saying that Tumelo Madlala was never brought before a formal identity parade in front of the men who are currently before the dock, the 5 men who are currently accused in the killing of Senzo Meyiwa. Also quite crucial, right towards the beginning of the start of proceedings today, more details about how Senzo Meyiwa was found and a description of where the blood was and how Senzo Meyiwa had been lying after he was found shot. Let's take a listen.
Igazi lakho Senzo lalingaflow kwawamadoda inyana nje phansi kwawamasport inyana phansi.
It's what I referred to earlier on about his blood wasn't flowing. It was just blood stains that were on the floor.
Now, these blood spots, where were they in relation to where the deceased was lying?
Mayelana lawo eleli khona yena umufi ne lama spots la egazi okhuluma ngawo ayekuphi nendawo malunga nala yena wayeleli khona.
ayekhona phansi la elalele khona.
It was on the floor where he was lying.
Also, Unati also described a bit earlier on today how the news was broken to them at the hospital that Senzo Meyiwa had passed on. He says that Meyiwa was carried from inside the house. He described him as heavy and says they had to fold his legs when they had to put him in the car. He said Kelly Khumalo was driving the vehicle. Also inside the vehicle was Zandi Khumalo Mthokozisi, as well as himself. And he says when they arrived at the hospital, a nurse had later approached them, showing them an X-ray, and broke the news. Let's take a listen.
Emva kwemzuzwana nje noma ngayazi ngaki kwaseqhamuka yena unesi loya ephethe isithombe se-X-ray.
Okay, Bambelapo. After a while, although I don't know after how many minutes or after how long, the nurse appeared, and the nurse had a picture of the X-ray.
Yes. Yes.
Wayese ecela umuntu omdala kwase kusondela umakakhiphi.
And then the nurse requested for an elderly person, and then Kelly's mother came forward.
Yes.
Yebo.
Lapho uMakheli naye weza kithi esekhala.
Kelly's mother then came to us crying.
Wasitshela ukuthi kusenza kasekho nani so wonke umuntu wayesekhala ke nje phakathi lapho.
She then informed us that Senzo had passed away, and then everyone inside there then started crying.
Yes.
Yebo.
Then ngasesicela ukumbona ngase ngicela mina ukuyombona ke then sahamba saboniswa.
I then requested to go and see him, and then we went. He was shown to us.
Then unesi lo wangilethela amanzi nani because bese ngihleli kwenye indawo ngathi ikhishi nje khona lapha engihlalise khona unesi lo.
Then the nurse brought me some water because the nurse made me to sit in a place that looked like a kitchen.
Well, Madlala also talks about after some time at the hospital had been packed to capacity with some people, including Orlando Pirates players, and said there seemed to have been a scuffle between Kelly Khumalo as well as Senzo Meyiwa's wife. He says this through the identification of some hair on the floor.
He was lying on a stretcher. He was covered.
Yes.
Then okwesibili sengimbona okwesibili ngihamba ngedwa bengafuni ngangena ngenkani then wangilandela uKelly.
All right. When I went to view him for the second time, I was alone because they didn't want to go and view him again, but Kelly followed me. Yebo.
So mangifika elele bengikhala so ngimbuza Senzo kanti ngibizela ukuthi ngizobona lento la.
When I got there, he was lying and I was crying, and I asked him, Senzo, is this, you called me to come and see this?
And that was, in fact, a clip of Madlala explaining that he had gone to view the body of Senzo Meyiwa twice. In the first instance, he'd asked him why did he call him basically to come and see this, because you must remember he told this court that it was Meyiwa who had sent him money to come and visit him here in Johannesburg. And the second time that he had gone to view the body. Kelly Khumalo had joined him. That's according to his evidence inside this court. And he says that Kelly Khumalo had removed a wristwatch. Also, what we've heard is that after Madlala had left with Kelly Khumalo and her sister and others to the house that Meyiwa had shared with Kelly Khumalo in Malbarton, we understand, according to his testimony, that police had also arrived there, and it was on the instructions of Kelly Khumalo that the security not open for the police. He says he don't know how police managed to get inside the area where the house is situated. And when Kelly Khumalo saw that, he says, she then asked that the electricity be turned off. What he also says is that Kelly Khumalo was then on the telephone, and as per some instruction, he says, after that, the police then decided to leave. So he says he can't explain why after Kelly Khumalo had been on the phone that there'd been some instruction. These police had decided to leave towards the end of proceedings as well. So much to get through, Unati, but the defense is also now asking for the flight ticket of Tumelo Madlala. You would recall that the state had indicated that he was not able to arrive at court on the day he was scheduled to be here. He couldn't get a flight ticket. So the defense is asking for his flight ticket to be brought to court tomorrow. And it certainly seems that the defense possibly believes in this instance, I presume they would want to argue or want to question when exactly Tumelo Madlala had arrived in Johannesburg or here in Pretoria. Back to you in studio.
All right, Chriselda, very quickly before I let you go, what's the very latest that we know as it pertains to Advocate Malisela Defo, as it relates to the Legal Practice Council?
Well, that's also breaking news over the past hour, Unati, in that we heard from the Legal Practice Council that Advocate Malisela Defo, you would recall, who was inside this court. The Legal Practice Council basically wants him struck from the role of advocates over alleged misconduct. That matter was heard inside this court. The Legal Practice Council had advanced quite a number of reasons why he should, be struck from the role of advocates, citing to a number of cases. We understand that that ruling will be made on Friday, so we'll know on Friday whether Advocate Malisela Defo, who was, you would recall, the legal representative for accused 1 to 4 before TT Tobane had taken over the case, and he decided to leave, accusing this court of bias, and he then subsequently left the case. So the Legal Practice Council had basically advanced, other instances where they say Advocate Malisela Defo, you would recall inside this court, Defo had quite a number of run-ins with the judge, basically accusing this court of bias, and a number of exchanges were seen between himself and the presiding judge in this matter, Chifoa Maumela. And, certainly a lot of murmurs inside, the legal profession about his decorum inside the court. So whether he will be struck off the roll of advocates is something we will hear on Friday when that ruling is expected to be made.
Chriselda, thank you so much for that update. Chriselda Lewis out in Pretoria, outside the Pretoria High Court for us.